What's up, guys? Josh Law here with TheCardGuyz, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new Super Slam expansion slot card for Dorinthea, Beat of the Ironsong. So Beat of the Ironsong is a blue pitch, zero cost warrior attack reaction that blocks for 3. It says choose X plus 1, where X is the number of +1 counters on an attacking Dawnblade. Target Dawnblade attack gets +1. Target Dawnblade attack gets go again. Cards defending target Dawnblade attack can't gain defense. And finally, damage target Dawnblade attack would deal can't be prevented. Now, if you've seen the thumbnail, finally Warrior has gotten a modal attack reaction, and not just any modal attack reaction. This is an attack reaction that slots in extremely easily into any Dawnblade Dorinthea blue base. And the 4 modes are all very relevant. So let's break this card down. So the TLDW is that this is an almost glint level blue for Dorinthea Ironsong, being a blue block 3 zero cost modal attack reaction that can potentially scale based on the number of counters you have is just, as a base, very, very good. We're going to break down all 4 modes in a little bit, but all 4 modes are very relevant. And the fact that this card exists is going to give headaches to defensive players, to thinking players, to players that know the card pool of Dorinthea very well, because you can tutor this card. A lot of play lines suddenly appear, and there are a lot of potential blowouts with this card. This card also is extremely tricky with Ironsong Pride, because an Ironsong Pride plus a blue plus this card is a very, very functional hand that sets you up for a very threatening turn soon. Also, very unlikely to get blocked. Also, that play pattern doesn't get blown out by Sync Blow, because let's say you pitch a blue, you attack for 3, they're like, okay, I don't block Naked Dawnblades, no blocks. And you're like, okay, I'll play Ironsong Pride, put a +1 counter on it, now it's 4. I'm going to play the card, and then, oh, now it has go again and +1. So it's very, very, very strong. This also creates the situation where if you get a single counter with this card available to you, a lot of lines become active. It's very similar to Unsheathed. Unsheathed was a good card, but it was basically sharpened steel if you didn't have a counter. But as soon as you had a single counter on it, it started coming in at a break point. It started indirectly giving you 1 extra resource, which allowed you to play things like Puncture, Out for Blood, Singing Steel Blade, stuff like that. It allowed you to pump into Bracers or pump into Grains. Very, very, very strong card, and very, very reminiscent of Unsheathed. And like I mentioned, just existing and being a target for Singing Steel Blade is going to be very, very annoying. Singing Steel Blade can, oftentimes you'll tutor for Glint, but if you run out of Glint, you probably will not run out of copies of this card. All right, let's take a look at all the modes. So the very first mode says target Dawnblade attack gets +1. Now, we already have several cards that basically were built into the blue base. Ironsong Response was first, generally as a 3-of in the blue base, and eventually those got phased out to Nip at the Heels. There was a little bit of debate whether or not you should run Ironsong Response or Nip at the Heels when New was around, but now that New has left, everybody's just running Nip at the Heels. Generally as a 2 or 3-of. And now there's really no reason to play those cards anymore. You will just stick this card in for those. Also, 1 damage is often all you need to unlock Warrior's Valor, to unlock Steel Blade Supremacy, to just keep your Dawnblade counter alive. So those of you who have played a lot of Dorinthea know that 1 is often all you need. A lot of games are 1 at 1 life as well. So obviously the first mode going to be picked quite often. The second mode, though, target Dawn Blade attack gets go again is also extremely relevant because this is unconditional go again. It doesn't say on hit. It doesn't say on hit on a Tuesday, you know, etc., etc., etc. Also, this card can combine very well with Twinning Blade if you want to go around. It also pairs well with attack action cards. Now, most stories are not running attack action cards, but you have a blue CNC and this card. Well, you pitch the blue, you attack, you give it go again, and then you play a CNC. It's a decent turn. Also, the fact that this card exists makes Glint the Quicksilver and Run Through much, much more threatening because you're more likely to get reprised with Glint, and you can mix it up, and they don't really know which of these attack reactions is going to be, or if it's just going to be damage, or you're going to use bolters. So there's a lot of ambiguity in your attack pattern. All right, mode 3 of Beat of the Ironsong is cards defending target Dawnblade attack can't gain defense. There are a lot of cards that are relevant in the current metagame. I've listed 9 of them here, but when it comes up, it will be it can be pretty backbreaking. So Embodiments of Earth, made by the chess piece of the Earth Heroes, is definitely very relevant. Suddenly they're blocking for 4 less. Toughness tokens in Super Slam, this is a new token, so likely to be quite relevant. Even things like a lot of D-reacts often gain power, so Rootbound Carapace, Staunch Response, Blood in the Water, even cards like Reinforce the Line also going to be hampered. Also, this has particular interactions with Lyeth, so his hero ability already is very risky to activate. And then obviously we have, you know, some defensive staples for certain decks like Brothers in Arms, and then we have Rampart. There's a lot of different cards in the game that increase their power. All right, editing Josh here. There are 2 examples that I did not include with this section that I do need to add here in post. So originally I said that there was a distinction between cards that set the defense to a value and cards that gained. According to the release notes, there is effectively no difference, so it will work favorably for the Dorinthea player against Quick Dodge Flexors and Phantasmal Footsteps, even though they set the defense to a value. It says in the release notes that it will not be set to that value. So yeah, that's good to know. All right, back to the video. But yeah, can't discount this mode because it is pretty relevant. All right, mode number 4. Damage target Dawnblade would deal can't be prevented. Now, this is less relevant with Enigma being gone. However, LSS loves to print illusionists, so I'm sure there will be Enigma 2.0 very, very soon. But there are several things in the game that have prevention effects. So all of the ally angels have ward on them, spectral shields. There are some, there's like a, I don't know if it's a cycle yet, but there is a design space that LSS has been exploring where we have block cards that block for, well, 2 or 4 in this case, and also can be discarded to give it an effect and prevent 2 damage. Things like Taken on the Chin as well would also be here, and that would play around that. We have some very defensive cards that sometimes you see in like Jarl and stuff like that. So we have Oasis Respite, Seeds of Tomorrow. Well Grounded is a card that Florian runs. Sawbones is pretty well. You're very likely to see that against Gravy. Although I don't think Dory players need much help against Gravy. So, but you know, a little bit of extra modes will never hurt. All right, so all 4 modes very, very relevant, and it's going to be pretty obvious which one to pick generally. And yeah, all right, let's wrap things up here. So this is an extremely flexible card. It can be no matter which zone it's at, whether it's blocking, whether it's in the pitch zone, whether it's being played, whether it's being tutored for, whatever, discarding it to pummel, whatever. Like, this card is just does it all, and very similar to cards that can play offense or defense like Sharp and Steel. It's just a good role-playing card that has no opportunity cost, because this is a blue block 3/0 cost modal attack reaction. It's as low opportunity cost as it exists in the game, I think. And it has, I wouldn't say this has a high impact, because oftentimes if you have a counter, you're already kind of in a good position. But this is a moderate impact card that has no opportunity cost, that has that forces your opponent to think about its existence. And there are many play lines that are going to be absolute blowouts, and people are going to have to learn and advance their blocking techniques against Dorinthea. And that's something that, you know, Dorinthea could take advantage of, because the more cards that exist in Dorinthea's card pool, the more possibilities that exist, the harder she is to defend, frankly. So this is a 3x main deck staple for Dawnblade Dorinthea decks going forward. No question about it. Easily slots into the blue base. You could either take out some of the attack reactions, so like Overpower and Nip at the Heels. You could remove some of those and slot in Beat of the Ironsong, or you could remove some of the expensive go-agains, such as Precision Press. Maybe even Trot Along doesn't make it either. So there are many possible ways to build out the blue base now. But this will definitely make it in there. It is a no-brainer, just like Glint and, you know, Hit and Run and stuff like that. You just throw it in, it'll do you well. And I'm sure that this card is going to cause a lot of frustration, even though it's just a blue. So yeah, I think this card is great, and I look forward to playing it. I'm sure a lot of Dorinthea players are also looking forward to playing it. All right, this has been Josh Lau with the Card Guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey man, did you get the KO deck for Worlds? No one's doing that, okay? Like,
Earned to play the whole horse now. Don't kill him. You're getting greedy. You're taking two cards. Some guy put him in the middle for now. That's perfect. All right, next year.
RTM champion.
Yeah, you're gonna have to order a couple more.
Thanks for watching the video.
Here's some more Card Guys videos you might enjoy.